and in life.
Dr. McCowan, how close were you to the actual World Trade Center when all this came down?
Well, me and several hundred other colleagues were at a conference up across from Madison Square Garden when we got the word that the World Trade Center had been bombed. We immediately took up together and went down to the triage area. They actually had a tour bus take us down to the area to send us out to the respective locations where they thought care would be needed. We initially went to a hospital in Brooklyn, then came back to Manhattan, and we set up a makeshift hospital, sort of like a MASH unit, 1.5 blocks away from the actual World Trade Center, or at least what was left of that itself.
Dr. McCowan, what kind of injuries did you guys see when you went to work on the people out there? Can you give us some descriptions of those?
Let me just tell you, the first thing I need to say is, please, everyone who's listening to your newscast, please pray for the families of the victims and the victims themselves, because this is the worst that I've ever seen. I have had the unfortunate responsibility of being part of a somewhat major disaster in the past, but nothing compares to the magnitude that happened today. I can tell you now that, I'm sorry for cutting you, I can tell you now that we were at the ready to take care of major trauma, major burns, which we were expecting to get. However, the buildings were unable to be put out, the flames were unable to be put out, and the buildings were allowed to burn because they couldn't stop it. I'm fearful that we won't see much of anybody except maybe those who are trying to put the fire out and help others.
Were emergency officials able to respond quickly in wake of it all?
Very quickly. In fact, the first wave of responders, I was speaking to one of the firemen outside. He said approximately 250 to 300 firemen were called when the first alarm went off, and they were in the building when the second plane struck the building, and the building collapsed soon thereafter. So they were all missing as we speak. I fear that they are dead.
We were just looking at some video of the buildings collapsing, and we've just been told that building number 7 in the World Trade Center area has just collapsed.
I was 1 block away from that. The hospital was right around the corner. I was standing there with my camera with the EMT crews waiting to see if anyone was coming, and just taking photos of the building before it collapsed. Then they moved us all out of the area. But we were right around the corner from where number 7 fell.